4,500 knots. That is the recorded speed of an object moving not through the thin atmosphere of the upper stratosphere, but through the dense, crushing weight of the deep Atlantic. At that velocity, the friction against the water should create a thermal explosion, boiling the surrounding ocean instantly and leaving a trail of steam visible from orbit. Instead, there was only silence.
Sonar,
the sonar technician who tracked the descent didn't report a crash or a catastrophic impact. He reported a transition. The object didn't hit the surface. It integrated with it, slicing through the waves and vanishing into a vertical abyss where the pressure is enough to turn a steel submarine into a crumpled oil ball. This is the reality of the underwater no-fly zones, the sectors of our maps where the radar goes dark and the sea swallows the sound of everything that enters. The ocean is not a single body of water. It is a series of locked rooms, and some of those rooms have been barred from the inside. We have spent decades looking at the stars, searching for signals from the deep void of space, while ignoring the rhythmic, mechanical pulses emanating from the trenches 5 miles beneath our feet. These areas are known to maritime authorities as acoustic shadows or navigational anomalies. But for those who work the night shifts on carrier decks, they are simply the sea of silence. They are regions where the most advanced GPS systems on the planet begin to drift, showing coordinates that shouldn't exist, and where the water itself seems to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating patches of the ocean that look like ink spilled on a slate-gray canvas. There is a specific kind of dread that comes with watching a radar screen and seeing a blip move with a trajectory that defies every known law of hydrodynamics. When an unidentified submerged object, or USO, is detected, it does not behave like a submersible or a creature of the deep. It moves with a terrifying, jagged precision that mocks our understanding of inertia. It stops instantly from Mach speeds. It turns at 90-degree angles without slowing down. In the mid-Atlantic, there is a corridor roughly the size of a small country where 3 separate naval vessels have reported these phantoms in the last decade. Each time, the protocol is the same. The records are flagged, the data is sequestered, and the area is quietly designated as a restricted zone for all commercial traffic. They tell the public it is for cable laying or environmental protection, but the sailors know the truth. You do not protect the environment by patrolling it with depth-charge-capable destroyers and cutting off all civilian communication. The mystery deepens when you consider the physical properties of these no-fly zones under the waves. In these specific coordinates, the ocean floor is often mapped as a flat, featureless plane. Yet sonar pings often return images of structures that are too geometric to be natural. Massive, spire-like formations rise thousands of feet from the silt, only to disappear when a second survey ship passes over the same spot. It suggests a form of active camouflage or a shifting geography that we are not meant to catalog. These are the places where the supersonic plungers are most frequently seen. Objects that drop from the edge of space and enter the water without a splash, maintaining their velocity as if the liquid medium offered no more resistance than a vacuum. Think of the energy required to move a solid object through water at 4,000 miles per hour. The cavitation alone, the bubbles of vacuum created by high-speed movement, should create a noise heard across the entire hemisphere. Yet, the acoustic sensors of the global hydrophone network often record nothing but a low-frequency hum, a sound that some marine biologists have described as the ocean breathing through a throat of cold metal. This hum is not biological. It does not match the song of the blue whale or the shifting of tectonic plates. It is a steady, rhythmic vibration that suggests a massive power source idling in the dark, miles below the reach of the sun. operating with a level of efficiency that makes our nuclear reactors look like steam engines. When a ship enters these restricted zones without authorization, the disappearance is rarely violent or dramatic. There are no distress signals, no oil slicks, and no floating debris. The vessels simply cease to be part of the conversation. In 1968, the disappearance of multiple submarines across different nations' navies sparked a quiet panic in the halls of power. But the common thread was the location. They were all operating near the fringes of these documented silence zones. The official reports cited mechanical failure or pressure hull collapse, but the classified transcripts tell a different story. They speak of magnetic interference that felt like a physical weight pressing down on the crew and visual distortions on the surface that looked like the water was folding in on itself, creating a gateway where there should have been only waves. The technology we use to monitor the oceans is designed to find things that want to be found or things that follow the rules of physics. We use sonar because sound travels better in water than light does. But what happens when the thing you are tracking can manipulate the very medium it moves through? There are theories, discussed in the hushed corners of oceanographic institutes, that these USOs are using a form of magnetohydrodynamic drive that allows them to slip through the water by ionizing it, creating a pocket of air or plasma around the craft. If this is true, the no-fly zones are not just areas of mystery. They are testing grounds or transit hubs for a technology that makes our fastest jets look like primitive toys. It means the water is not an obstacle to them. It is a propellant. The silence of the sea is not an absence of noise, but a deliberate suppression. In the deepest parts of the Pacific, near the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, autonomous drones have captured footage of shadows moving beneath the seabed, not swimming, but moving through the rock as if the crust of the earth were liquid.
Damn it!
When these drones return to the surface, their data drives are often wiped clean by a localized electromagnetic pulse, leaving the researchers with nothing but a grainy few seconds of a dark, metallic shape that seems to distort the very space around it. The coordinates are then promptly added to the list of restricted maritime blocks, and the cycle of silence continues, enforced by agencies that do not appear on any public organizational chart. We are told that we have mapped the entire surface of the Moon and the plains of Mars with more accuracy than our own ocean floor. We are told this as if it were a simple matter of logistics or a lack of funding. But perhaps the lack of a map is a choice. Perhaps the Sea of Silence is a boundary we have been warned not to cross. The objects that plunge from the sky into the depths at supersonic speeds are not crashing. They are returning home. They are entering a world that has existed alongside ours for eons. A world protected by the crushing weight of 5 miles of water and a bureaucratic veil that ensures we never look too closely at the gaps in our radar. We are focusing on the stars because the truth beneath our feet is too heavy to carry. The most unsettling part of these underwater zones is the acoustic mirror effect. In certain parts of the Sargasso Sea, sonar pulses do not bounce off the bottom and return to the ship. They are captured. The signal goes out, and then there is a total, terrifying void. It is as if the floor of the ocean has opened its mouth and swallowed the sound whole. Pilots flying over these areas have reported seeing dark spots in the water, circles of absolute black that do not shift with the waves or the light of the sun. These are the physical manifestations of the no-fly zones, the points of no return, where the atmosphere and the abyss meet in a silent handshake, and where the laws of our world are quietly suspended. What are we actually tracking when the radar flashes a warning?
We're running analysis,
Is it a
Master
foreign
Chief.
power,
It's
a hidden
non-terrestrial.
civilization, or something even more ancient that has always been here? The speed at which these objects move suggests a mastery of gravity and inertia that we cannot even theorize. If If an object can travel at 5,000 knots underwater, it does not view the ocean as an obstacle. It views it as a sanctuary. It is a place where they can operate with total impunity, hidden by the very element that sustains life on our planet. We are like children playing on the edge of a vast, dark forest, unaware that the shadows between the trees are moving with a purpose we cannot comprehend, and that the forest itself is deeper than we ever dared to measure. Every year, the list of restricted navigation areas grows. The maps are updated, the coordinates are shifted,
Good evening. The Environmental
and the
Protection
public is
Agency has
given a
announced a major
litany of
expansion of
mundane
ocean
reasons
conservation
for
zones.
why they
Citing
cannot sail
ecological
through
initiatives,
certain
the agency is
patches of the
rerouting
blue.
commercial shipping lanes and
But the data remains for those who know where to look. The spikes in seismic activity that do not match earthquake patterns. The thermal anomalies that suggest a massive heat sink on the ocean floor. And the persistent, haunting reports of supersonic objects vanishing into the surf without a ripple. The sea of silence is expanding. And it is doing so because something beneath the waves has decided that it no longer wishes to be observed by our primitive sensors. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is 8 tons per square inch. It is an environment so hostile that it might as well be another planet. Yet, this is exactly where the USOs are most active. They seek the pressure. They seek the darkness. They utilize the physical properties of the deep to mask their signatures and conduct their movements away from the prying eyes of satellites. When we see a no-fly zone on a maritime chart, we should not think of it as a vacancy or a dead spot. We should think of it as a busy intersection in a world we were never meant to inhabit. The ocean is not ours. We are merely allowed to skim the surface, provided we do not look too deep or ask too many questions about the things that move beneath the keel. There is a final, chilling detail that many whistleblowers from naval intelligence have hinted at. It is called the response factor.
losing containment.
When a human vessel attempts to use high-powered active sonar in these restricted zones, the silence often reacts. It is not a mechanical response, but something that feels almost sentient. The water temperature around the ship will spike by 20 degrees in seconds. The hull will begin to vibrate at a frequency that induces nausea, disorientation, and intense dread in the crew. It is a localized, non-verbal warning, a message sent from the depths that says, quite clearly, that the observer has become the observed. The supersonic objects aren't just passing through. They are patrolling. They are maintaining the borders of a silent kingdom that has no interest in diplomacy. We live in a world of explained phenomena, where every mystery is eventually solved by a spreadsheet, a satellite image, or a laboratory test. But the underwater no-fly zones remain the great exception to the rule. They are the cracks in our understanding of the world, the places where the rules of physics are treated as suggestions, and where the deep blue turns into a shuttered window. We can keep sending our satellites to the stars, and we can keep scanning the horizon for signs of life from distant galaxies. But as long as the Sea of Silence exists, the greatest mystery of our existence isn't light years away. It is right here, beneath the waves, moving at supersonic speeds through the dark, waiting for us to finally stop looking up and start looking down. The radar blip is gone now. The sonar technician has closed his log and rubbed his eyes, convinced he saw a glitch in the software. The official report will state that a weather balloon, a rogue wave, or a stray meteor was responsible for the anomaly. But somewhere, miles below the keel of the ship, a massive, sleek shape is slowing down, its supersonic transit complete. It settles into a groove in the seabed that was carved out before the first human ever set foot on a boat. The lights on the surface fade away. The GPS stabilizes, and the world returns to a comfortable lie. But the Sea of Silence remains, a vast, liquid vault containing a truth that is far more terrifying than any ghost story. We are not the masters of this planet. We are just the temporary guests of an abyss that has its own agenda, its own technology, and its own reasons for keeping the lights on. When the next supersonic object enters the water, it won't make a sound. It will not cause a splash. It will simply slide into the depths, passing through the boundary between our world and theirs, as if the surface were nothing more than a veil of smoke. And as the ripples fade and the ocean turns back to its restless slate-gray state, the only thing left will be the silence. A heavy, crushing silence that reminds us how little we actually know about the world we call home. The no-fly zones are not just lines on a map. They are the edges of our understanding. And beyond those edges, something is moving very, very fast, watching us from the dark. We are not alone, but the neighbors aren't in the sky. They are right beneath us, and they have been there all along.